Okay, friends, we're going to do something a little bit different again today. We've talked about some of the big monster guys, the big benchers like Jim Williams and Odie Wilson and those guys, which got really didn't have phenomenal benches for their size, but still pretty good benches in the sixes. And in Jim Williams' case, 700 was reported, although we didn't quite get that officially. This whole thing is coming from the great Terry Todd, which I really like as an author and just as an iron sport. Great lifter himself and a very knowledgeable guy. And he's talking about his being impressed with Mike just largely because when you look at the guy, you can't imagine that he's going to bench press what he ends up bench pressing. Although he had spent some time bodybuilding. He's talking about having seen Paul Anderson, just toy with throwing 400 overhead. Jim Williams, and, like he says, when Jim Williams or Doug Young, who will show in a bit, get up there and get ready to bench, you just imagine that they're going to bench massive weights. As opposed to like this guy Ronnie Ray, who had a decent physique, another small stature guy, but he was set some world records himself, and it's even mentioned later on that Mike kind of aspired to be as good or better than him. Mike did have some interesting techniques. Of course, everybody thinks about and even thinks of him as being the inventor of the camber bar. I don't think he was the inventor of the camber bar. We did a video on that earlier. There's Doug Young. Like you said, just looking at the way that guy's built, you can imagine him that he's going to do some serious benching. But here, on the other hand, we have Mike with maybe 16-inch biceps. And that's another thing. He really didn't train biceps hardly at all, if ever. Didn't do much lats. There he is with the cambered bar, which was one of his favorite things. And it talks about that before he did the cambered bar, he used to do bench presses between boxes and got a really good stretch, would get a really nice pump. But it got to a point where that just wasn't cutting it anymore, and that's when he really started moving towards using the cambered bar more. Talks about when he was 17, Jim really just was getting into training. He was bench pressing 300, so he's obviously naturally gifted. Although again, you wouldn't have probably imagined when you looked at him at 17 that he could bench press 300 pounds. Sometimes you see guys like that in the gym, and it's like they look pretty slim. They don't look super muscular. And then they get under there, and lift weight that you're like, whoa. And Mike was one of those guys. Talks about having been in the service, and he was in Vietnam, and kind of outperforming his drill instructor, which, of course, drill instructor wasn't too happy about. He did get to train with guys like Ken Patera. And then so it talks about after Vietnam, his bench, had gone all the way down to 230 because he wasn't able to train really. And then he brought it up to 480, weighing 215. Went into the junior nationals and did well there and kind of just took off from there. Here he is, and you can see that's a wide grip for a bench press, and his arms are like fully out there. For most guys, and I used to kind of bench like that, to tell you the truth, and didn't do real well for my shoulders over the years. Somehow Mike seems to have avoided all that. He only semi-serious injury he had was a leg injury. And incidentally, he was not just a one-lifter. There's Larry Pacifico, which talks about that there was a time when they were arch rivals there for a few years and kind of trading back and forth with world records. Larry has quite a few himself. In fact, 9 world championships for Larry. But Larry Moore has the look that you would expect that he's going to bench big weight as opposed to Mike. Also mentions Bud Ravenscroft's here, and there he is, and he's another guy that's skinny little legs. His arms aren't real big, but somehow manages to bench pretty massive weight. So he was another guy that was kind of in that category. So here he's talking about in 76 where he does this easy 540 world record. And mentions at 181 he did 540, at 220 did 573. And just, as he successfully goes up the weight classes, the weight goes up. There he is again. You look at his upper body, you're like, really? He's going to bench press, high fives or 600 pounds? But he does. Again, he goes back to talking about he would like to go up and up and up and get into those weights like Jim Williams and other guys doing high sixes and even maybe 700 pounds. There he is again with the very straightforward. I don't know what's up with the footwear there, but didn't seem to have messed him up too much. So we're going to give a full routine. Again, he wasn't a great squatter or deadlifter, but he wasn't bad at all. And start out, and you can see he likes doing a lot of singles. There he is again with the camber bar. I think he did have one kind of custom made to his liking, and sold it as the MacDonald bar or something to that effect. But he didn't invent the camber bar itself. Here he's talking about that blast off power, which he believes he got from using the cambered bar. Started out again with doing the bench press or push-ups in between boxes. Here he is again, and you look at him. Look at his arms, and look at how much weight he's doing there. I think this was like the 574. It's just mind-blowing. Bent bar. That's what talking about the cambered bar there. And he liked doing pauses on those. Didn't do high repetition stuff. Didn't do a lot of tricep work or lat work. Just really concentrated on the bench press itself. And there he is again. You can see he doesn't even look like he has an arch there. And just throwing up some massive weights. He did believe a lot. He generally would train 6 days a week. And but he would determine whether or not he was recovered enough, especially with the bench press. He had this routine he did with a broomstick. On the morning of a scheduled bench workout, he would hold out the broomstick and then bring it in slowly and see how his pecs felt. If his pecs were sore when he did that move, then he would not bench press that day. He would delay it for another day. Lowering the bar to a position, you see in yellow here, 2 inches below the sticking point, and holding it there for 5 seconds is another, and then forcing it up is another method that he used to help his bench press a lot. There he is again. You can see it's a nice color picture, but obviously old school bench, and this is just a training picture. He's not in a competition or anything, but again, throwing up some pretty serious bench weight without the generally big pecs and everything that you would see on most big benchers. So he goes into his full routine here. And again, when he's engaged in the full routine, he backs off on the intensity of his benching a little bit, as you might expect. Here he is on the cover of 81 Powerlifting USA, where he locks out 608, which again, and I think he was probably in the 242 class there. Expects to bench 650 as a 242er before too long. This is as of this rating, which again was a long time ago. I'm not even sure exactly when it was, but it's pretty old. And thought if he got up to like as a light super heavy, like being in a 275 class, but weighing maybe 265, that he could get up in the high sixes or even beyond that. Was Mike the king of the bench press? I think certainly back in the 70s, you could say that he was. Of course, Larry Pacifico, great lifter that he was, and competition to Mike, was a more all-around lifter, and that's how he achieved his 9 world records for full meets, of course. But here, as we see, sorry, it's not very clear, but just you can see the number of records that he has. And this was, again, this was not even up to the current day, but 37 world records in 4 different weight classes, which is certainly, again, impressive. Mike did own some natural food stores, and as such, he got to know more about nutrition, and that was, part of his game plan. Ate a lot of good, healthy meats, vegetables, fruits. Did take some protein supplements, but nothing really crazy. When he goes to cut weight, he talks about carbohydrates being the main factor. So that's about it. And Mike passed away, unfortunately, at the age of 69. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Thanks for those who have subscribed. If you haven't, I hope that you do. And if you like the video, like. Thanks, and I'm out.